Alrighty, let's get going. Hey, nice to be with you in person. Look at this. Wow. All right, you are watching. Wow, I actually didn't get into the groove of it the way that I normally do before we start these podcasts. You are listening, watching, whatever, to the final episode of the Survivor Roysan Northfield Farm behind the scenes podcast. This is obviously a very special episode. Liam and I are sitting here right in person together on the same couch, which is delightful. I'm getting ahead of myself, actually. As always, my name is JJ Moran. I am the co-director and host of this season of Survivor Roysan Northfield Farm. And I am joined, as always, by our esteemed executive producer and co-director, Liam Houghton.
Thanks for having me at my own house, JJ. This is great.
We're at your own house right now. This is nice.
This is the exact spot where most of the editing that I did for Survivor Northfield Farm took place.
This is where the magic happens.
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
And actually, this is where to your point, this is where you did most of the editing, but in my mind, really where like when we left the farm last summer, we did smaller edits. I would work on the theme song. I knew you were starting to lay the foundation for a lot of those early episodes. I worked on the coin challenge kind of early on. We were doing a lot of that stuff, but it was in May, actually, that we got together. I flew up from New York, and it was right here that we worked on a lot of those, especially those first 4 episodes. We really like kind of laid the real groundwork and made sure that they were in a good place. Yeah. And that was right here, and that was back in May.
Yeah, so it's only appropriate that we end this thing where we did most of the work.
Yep.
So.
This really felt like, I remember that weekend kind of feeling like, in a weird way, like oh, this is like really actually going to happen, which is so weird because like even at that point we're a year and a half going on 2 years of like planning and working on this thing. We had already filmed everything. We had already started to edit everything, but it was like that weekend when we got to sit down and we connected a few of the puzzle pieces. I had some stuff that I had edited. You had a lot of the like the rough cuts done for those first 4 episodes. So we were able to actually kind of like mesh those worlds together. And I remember watching, I forget what I think it was. I think it was the first episode we were able to actually watch in its entirety that weekend, and I just remember being like, "Damn, man, this is actually happening."
Yeah,
and that was a cool feeling.
Yeah, and yeah, that started the clock to the premiere date, and now we're here.
And now we're here. So actually, before we really get into it, so we've got a lot of like really exciting stuff today. This is obviously a special episode. Liam and I have been doing these remote the entire time. Today we're here in person. But beyond that, we are currently sitting above what is going on right now is kind of it's a mini. We wish we could have had everybody from the cast and crew, but it's wedding season and it's the fall in New England, and we had obviously a lot of people travel just to play the show, so we couldn't get everybody here in person. But today, right now, downstairs below where we are sitting right now is our kind of like official reunion cast and crew party, wrap party, I would say, for Survivor Northfield Farm is happening directly below our feet. And so throughout this episode, we're going to have people from the cast and the crew coming up and sitting in these 2 chairs over here, and we're going to interview some people in person, which I think is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Get some more deep dive behind the scenes stories that we might not even know.
Yes, yeah. Very true. First of all, though, before we really get into anybody that's downstairs, off camera, off to my right, we have Kyle Strickland. Kyle, you want to get... Yeah. Big round of applause. Big round of applause. Oh, he's checking. Look at him, Mr. Professional.
Always a professional.
Wow. Hello, Kyle. Welcome to... This is Kyle.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Would you like to... No.
Good to see you.
I got to be a better host. I'm like, I didn't even mean to do the handshake, but... So, Kyle... for anyone who is unaware and hasn't been closely reading our credits list at the end, Kyle did a lot of different things for us last year and is obviously doing a lot of different stuff for us today. But I would say you were a camera operator for us last year.
Yes.
You had you were rolling with your own camera all weekend last year,
yes.
Correct?
Yep.
I think that made a huge difference. Personally, that's one of these things where We rented a few cameras. We've talked about that on the pod at this point. We were handing off rented cameras to people who are not seasoned camera operators. And so there is a decent amount of trial and error that goes into people just like learning how to use those. You showed up on the weekend very comfortable with the equipment that you brought.
Well,
I
there's a lot of settings I don't know what they mean on the camera, but I know what you're saying.
I'm not kidding though when I say like if you watch the first, like I worked on from scratch the first 6 minutes of the first episode. Mm-hmm. I would say 80% of those shots come from your camera. Maybe less than, maybe 80's too high. Oh, it's a lot of them. Like I was like, you showed up that weekend dialed in on the look, and you had the thing ready to go, and you just like you took direction really well. And it was one of these things where this was your first year camera operating or second time?
I think this is your first time. I think
it was my first time. Yeah, on crew. Yeah,
the true fans will know Kyle played Survivor Lakes region.
Yes,
and kind of got swap screwed and just pigeonholed. But
yeah, that was devastating. It was really hard to watch back. It was just a lot of information I wasn't privy to, but that's the game.
Yeah, but you came out and you're the A+ MVP of the production weekend.
I mean, I think I texted Liam probably back in January when I was working on those early few minutes where I was just like, holy God, like Kyle just like you just like, I think by the end of the weekend, props to our entire crew, everyone is rolling on full cylinders, but like this is one of those things where like, people are showing up to film that weekend around the same time that the cast is showing up to get started.
Yeah.
And so it takes, it is helpful to have somebody there who's just ready to get going right away.
Yeah. And I've been on a couple sets before, like I've told you. And I think that even just being around all that chaos a couple times can help you understand like the bottlenecks and, the setup and, everyone has to be, all the prep work has to be done like and ready to go when everyone hits record, and that can be a storm for people. Can I say that?
Yes,
sure. Okay.
We'll bleep you out. Maybe
for people that they're not familiar with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like everything for the shot, and so when you have to like, you got to make sure that the batteries are with people when they need it. Otherwise, you miss everything. Stuff like that. So yeah, it was just kind of knowing what can save us and what can screw us can go a long way.
And it's just huge having that like eyes and ears like that on set throughout the weekend in a setting like this, especially when we're not working with like, props to everybody who worked on the crew, but like we're not working with people who do film and video broadcast for real life profession, and so having kind of a more seasoned hand around was an amazing help this season. And so, but before I get too far into just like I love your eye and like the camera skill and everything was great, but also I think someone for fans of ours who have watched other seasons, one of the biggest critiques, or not critiques, but like
critiques,
improvements that I feel like we've received from fans is, hey, I'm so glad that I can hear people at Tribal Council.
Yeah.
Audio was a giant improvement this season, and that was something that, coming on board as a producer myself, I was like, we need to make sure that the audio is better, especially at Tribal, and you were instrumental in that process. Why don't you talk a little bit about what that went into that?
Yeah, so I basically, I've watched most of the seasons that have come out already, and that was one of my biggest critiques watching it was, oh man, it's really hard to hear. Everything else is pretty good, but a lot of things you just can't hear. And I had just got some podcast equipment, so I thought, well, I can probably walk around with a boom mic or something and figure it out. So I think I told Liam like, hey, I want to try to do audio for you this year, and found out a way to rig up this thing to go remote and, set up the mics. And obviously there was a lot of things I learned this season that I would change next season as far as audio goes. But even just what we've done this season, I think it was a big improvement.
Absolutely enormous improvement, like legitimately.
Especially for those moments like Tribal when the cameras are all away. There's more distance between the camera and the subject that the audio is... you can't get it unless there's remote mics.
Yeah,
so
sure. I mean, I've heard those complaints, and my response used to always be, well, audio's a pain in the ass, so I don't really want to do it. So having Kyle step in was huge. And I know Kyle, we were in the same fraternity. Kyle was the president of the fraternity. Hey. Kyle won like brother of the year, two years in a row. So that's the type of guy Kyle is. So ladies, I think you're single. So ladies, DM.
Your wife just tried to set me up with 2 people. So we'll see. We'll see.
So go act fast. He might be off the market by the time this comes out.
Okay. Kyle, because unfortunately after this, we're going to have you do some running for us to go get some of our cast and crews downstairs. But I want to ask you before, what's your standout memory from the weekend? Because we're beyond a year removed now. Rewatching the episodes, did it jog your memory for anything, or like what was the big standout for you last weekend?
The only thing the only thing I can remember is that it really took me by surprise how much work it is to be on the crew rather than being a contestant. Not that being a contestant is easy, but the crew experience is completely different. You know, you're up as long as, if not longer than, the contestants. You know, wake up earlier, go to bed later. You're always moving, moving batteries here, lenses there, just always running across the property. And you're there for the whole weekend. You can't shower. You barely have time to eat. It's like it was really intense, but it was great because it felt like we were making something. Yeah, which we were. So it was like it was, and we were all in it together, which is what made it a lot easier.
I think that's a big part of it too. Like and I think this goes for anything. Like you said, you and I think have this in common, where we both worked on production sets before, like big professional, big budget ones. And I think the same sentiment rings true there, which is like sometimes days are long and hard and people are tired and getting work to the bone sort of thing. And it's one of these things when it's like, it's hard to complain when you're looking around and there's 10 other people that are doing the exact same thing as you. They've been awake just as long as you. They've been grinding just as hard as you, and you got like it's that team mentality of like everybody doing this together is it's instrumental into making something like this happen. So it's great.
And like I said, that's the only thing I can remember. It was such a whirlwind, I was just
it's the
here and there, and like
Stockholm syndrome of it all that we've talked about, where it's terrible when you're there, but the second you leave, you're hey, that was pretty fun.
That Monday morning sitting at the office again, you're like, oh God damn, this is pretty boring. Actually. Okay, well, Kyle, thank you so much for talking to us. Yeah, we'll have you back on. Like, you'll be floating around here tonight, so you guys will all see more of Kyle. Would you mind going to grab our first guest?
Rachel.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So Kyle is off. We are now in a slew. I just realized the phone that I was supposed to be using to get Steven, our runner, is one of our cameras.
I can.
Again, we are going to be speaking to a little bit of the cast and crew. Obviously, you just heard from Kyle, camera operator. Cannot speak to enough how instrumental he was in helping us. And then we've got some cast members coming in right now. It appears that we have Rachel. Hey, everybody, welcome to the stage. There you go. Please sit right here. You can hold the beer. Wait, actually, hold on to the beer.
Cheers.
Yeah, actually.
Can I hide the label?
No. I don't think we're big enough yet to worry about that kind of thing. Cheers, actually, Rach.
Cheers.
Okay.
Rachel from the coveted made the merge, but not the jury spot, kind of the sad spot, but I think you handled it very well.
Someone from production actually said that was Boston Rob's first placement, and that made me feel so much better.
Yes,
so
that's very true.
I'll take it.
Anytime you want to feel better in Survivor things, you can just say like, hey, if I can compare myself to Boston Rob, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Right. Okay, so Rachel, before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of like what happened with you this season and everything, I kind of just asked this question of Kyle, like just big, broad. It's been a year. You're a year removed. What do you remember? What's like your standout memory from last year? What the weekend? What did it leave?
Getting slammed with a palanquin. And the first challenge is pretty vivid in my memory. And
you took such a big bruise for that.
Yeah. I mean, I did go to the doctor after that
Did
weekend.
you?
Whoa.
Because it was still hurting, and I was like, it was like throbbing. I was like, I don't know if this
Sorry.
is normal. No. I signed the waiver.
Yeah.
We were all good.
See, we have waivers.
Yes.
A waiver.
But honestly, like, I was just proud of myself kind of holding my own with like the social connections that I made. I definitely would have done some things differently, but like the connections that I had with Karen and Michelle and Jen, even Chad, like that was something that I thought I would kind of struggle with, not knowing who was like lying to me. But honestly, I felt like pretty good with how all of that shook out. So
yeah, no, you were in the power position of that Gibson tribe that unfortunately you lost 3 of the 4, but even after the swap, you were the one that convinced Michelle to work with you and vote out Isaiah, which I think saved Karen, but I think eventually led to you being voted out. But who cares? At the time, that was a good move.
It was a great move at the time, and also too, I mean, like it could go the wrong way, but I appreciate players who make big risks, and you were one of the players who was involved in the rock draw that sent Harris home. And you actually had such a like visible reaction to poor Harris getting sent home in that moment. What do you remember from that tribal? It was kind of crazy.
Well, I don't know if I can talk about this. Can we talk about Michelle forgetting her idol?
I think we can talk about everything at this point.
Well, on the way up to tribal, Michelle like says to someone like, "Oh wait, can I go get my?" And Karen, Harris, and I all look at each other like she was about to play an idol, like. And Harris, I'm pretty sure, was like, should we vote out Michelle? And I really wanted to work with Michelle, so I was like, stick with the plan. Meanwhile, the production team was like, do not talk. Like, you're not allowed to talk. We're not allowed to strategize. So I was like, stick with the plan.
Good production team.
Yeah. Good players, though. I think part of playing is breaking the rules. That it's the parent-child relationship to a certain extent of being a good, sneaky kid. You can get away with more and help your own game. It's it's a dynamic that is unseen, I think, a lot of times.
But if we had just, like, blinked twice and been like, well, get Michelle. Like, you know, the whole trajectory of the game would have changed.
Could have gone way different.
That tribal really is, because Michelle could have easily went home, and Michelle was right in there at the end. Yeah,
no rocks. We would have been, you know, in a better position going into
Well, who's the
marriage.
other hand that, because of the two Gibson, it's
Harris, Rachel, Michelle.
Oh, okay, yeah. What was how Karen was the vote that was
they voted for Karen.
Yes.
Isaiah plays the idol for Matt. But the vote's on Isaiah.
Yeah, that was a wild. And that was first thing in the morning.
That was probably 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I had several family members texting me after I got out, and like not family members, but my close friends that were on the production team. They're basically my family, and they were like, why did you go to Rocks before the merge?
Tough.
And, you know, honestly, I just wanted to leverage myself and put myself in the best position, and I was like, I'm either going to go home early or I'm going to take a risk and get further. So
we talked about this in this podcast about that episode, and I think we disagreed about Harris's play there, but it's kind of like poker. You have to make some big moves to create your bigger stack so you can start manipulating things later on. But yeah, you guys were down in the numbers, so you had the freedom to take those big swings. So you had nothing to lose, and you lost. So
you know,
I think it's the play that you make in that situation.
So Rachel, we thank you like so much for doing this. I'm gonna end up. This is gonna be a theme of me thanking every person who like comes through here. Would you do something like this again? Was this something that you were like, well, first of all, like, had you ever played an LRG before this weekend?
I didn't know what an LRG was.
Okay.
Until after I had left and the LRG casting had like followed me on Instagram, and I was like, what the heck is
Shout out at LRG casting.
Because I thought this was like your original idea. I was like, oh my gosh, like they're doing Survivor New Hampshire, like who? You are geniuses. Like, why are people not doing this? Only to find out there's like, they're doing this in Australia. It's all over the world. So
we got another Gibson coming in.
Oh, wow. Here we go. Okay, we're gonna ask too, because this is that when one of you speak, you just swap off the mic. So, wait! Everybody else has gotten a big round of applause.
Jen!
Big round of applause for Jen, ladies and gentlemen. Jen, okay. Jen, thank you for joining us. Hello, how are you today?
Doing great, thank you.
Thank you for just coming to the reunion party.
Yes.
You having fun downstairs?
I'm having so much fun.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
great to see
beautiful.
everyone again.
Yes.
Beautiful.
But it's nice having both of you. You guys are kind of a power dynamic on that demise Gibson tribe.
True.
But
Lucky us.
We did our best.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You could probably, I mean, like if Karen was here too. Karen is not in the building today, unfortunately.
I don't think she's in country.
Flying
yeah,
from
that's
Chile.
true. Actually, she's not in North America
Yeah.
right now, if I'm not mistaken.
She's home. Yeah.
But yeah, why don't you guys just like, what was that kind of experience like for you, Jen? You were able to, you were part of the swap that got sent to Pittman, obviously. So like, what was that whole scenario like, being at the bottom on or being the bottom on Pittman after coming from a Gibson tribe that was
So to be fair, like I feel like if we had actually gone to tribal, I would have been in a lot of trouble. I think they would have voted me out instead of Darren, because Darren was doing a really great job. He was like in with everybody.
Sure.
So I was definitely on the bottom. I mean, I had the idol, so I would have, played it for myself, but then Darren's in trouble, and that's also not good for me. Mm-hmm. Honestly, after the first tribal, so we had like the disc challenge, we were holding the discs. Both Darren and I were shocked that they didn't throw it, and they didn't send us, like they didn't force to send one of us home, because there was 4 of them and 2 of us, whereas you all were 3v3, and so we kind of thought like it was a foregone conclusion they were going to throw it to save the other Pittmans, and then they didn't, and like that built a lot of trust with Darren, and I was still a little skeptical, but like
You're skeptical of Darren?
no, I wasn't skeptical of Darren. I was skeptical that like they didn't want to put themselves at risk,
Gotcha.
and like they would still have like voted us out. It wasn't like they were building trust with us moving forward.
Yeah.
It was more of a self-preservation situation, which is part of why I passed the idol, because I was like, I'm still on the bottom no matter what
Sneaky
happens.
move. We loved the idol pass.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
But was it sneaky? I got caught. I got caught.
You got caught by 1. Yeah, there was a bunch of people. I don't know how many were left at that moment. What, 8 or 9 kind of thing? Or no?
12, 11
Oh,
people.
really? Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
wow.
right
Yeah,
before
yeah,
the
yeah.
merge.
Oh,
and then,
true. Yeah, that was. Yeah, no. So you got caught by 1. That's pretty. Yeah,
But Survivor, it only takes one.
It only takes one.
But
Because we had discussed that before the tribe swap, that if whoever lost would get the idol, it would be passed over. But then that we lost that first one.
I didn't bring the idol. I didn't bring it to the first tribal because they were 3v3. I was like, they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I knew that it wasn't going to go straight to a merge at that point. So I was like,
yeah, that is funny. Yeah, you didn't hand it off right away. Well, that's probably smart. I mean, you were thinking of yourself. You might have been the one sitting at tribal in the very next round. So like,
again, honestly, we just thought they were going to throw it. So
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
why bring it?
Yeah,
Honestly,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when you find it too, you kind of give a look to the camera like, ooh, do I keep this for myself?
I actually
or-
asked the cameraman, I was like, do I tell him?
Yeah.
And then I was wearing a tank top and shorts, and I was like, I'm going to have to tell
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So,
Well, I actually love that. We talked about that a decent amount on the podcast the week that episode came out. Of like, I loved the mentality of, I think it's when you guys are walking back. I think it's you, Jen, that says like, Harris says something along the lines of like, yeah, we should really search for an idol at some point tonight. And you were like, not at some point tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
I think Rachel is. the
oh
one
yeah,
that's-
it's like we got to kick it into high gear right now. Like it's not gonna happen later tonight. JJ sounds like we're getting ready for the swap to happen imminently, and that was the correct assumption.
Yeah, you guys kept us on our toes.
We
We
tried.
had no time to think, process anything. So
Yeah.
we were like, no one has found an idol that we at least knew of. Like we just had to look. There was no, I mean, it was all on the line at that point.
How long did that go on for? Do you feel like, or do you remember at least?
half an hour.
Oh, really?
We were looking for. I found it right as Mike was calling. Someone had, I think Darren went to get the tree mail, and I found the idol as Darren pretty much got the tree mail. So that was also part of why I told everyone that I found it, because we were all congregating anyway.
Gathered together.
And so like I couldn't fake it, like hide it and then quickly put it in my bag. We were all meeting anyway. I don't know if I would have. I don't actually think I would have told you guys otherwise. Sorry, but
The truth comes out.
the truth comes out. But no, we were looking for a while, like, and just honestly crazy that we didn't find the other one.
Yeah.
We only found one, and we combed that area. We really tried. It was hard, and then at that point we thought, oh, there must only be one.
Yeah. It's a hard camp it's all in the open. So
Yep.
yeah. And I think, Jen, you have a good line of like, oh, we'll hand it off at the challenge. And then Harris says something, oh, it said like we can do that. And what we talked about earlier of tricking production, you said it doesn't say we can't. So yeah, that's the mindset.
To be
you
fair,
need.
if you said I couldn't, I wouldn't. I would have been like, darn, I'll keep it.
No, if does it make good TV, then you can do it. And it was a major plot point through the next 3 episodes.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So we thank you actually for
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah, it made it much more entertaining.
It was honestly kind of fun. Like you felt so covert until I actually knew that Megan had seen me pass it.
Sure.
Like, cause you see her turn around, but I had also seen her turn around, and so like I'm just sitting there like sweating, and on the way back to camp, you can hear her telling. I think there's a camera on her, Ashley, and Vega, and she's telling them, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I'm in so much trouble.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a thing I did not remember being a major plot point from the weekend. It was me watching the footage that it was like, oh, shoot, this is kind of the driving force behind that merge episode. And yeah, worked it in. And
yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
actually
kinda...
did me a service, though, because they're like, well, if she's so willing to give away her idol, she must have the other one.
Yeah.
We won't vote Jen, we'll vote Rachel.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yep,
he saved
yep.
me.
That's how it played out in the...
So sorry, Rachel.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
No, honestly, I was spiraling toward the end. I didn't know what was going on. Like it was tough.
Like my bruise hurt really bad.
And I had been to so many tribals at that point.
Yes.
I know.
That getting to the merge and then like starting over and then having to go to, that was so
We were talking
so
about
hard.
this. We talked about this on the pod like a month ago, and I was just saying this to you downstairs too. Like, I literally think my favorite like on camera like reaction to anything the entire season was you finding out that you've made the merge. You get so hyped. I love it. Like just visually an on camera moment like that when someone is just showing that kind of emotion is amazing. The fact that that was the episode that you got booted and then you didn't get to sit on jury just kills me. Like made me so sad as a producer of this thing that I was like, oh man, we have someone who's this happy to be here and is so excited to make this phase of the game. So it was just such a shame. Would you mind, I'm sorry, Rachel, we thank you so much for having us.
No worries.
Would you mind going and finding, this is very technical of us, finding Michelle, she's downstairs, and you could just tell her she doesn't have to rush, but if she could just come up here in the next few minutes, that would be great.
No.
Thank you
Yeah.
for everyone, yes. All right.
Thank you.
Jen, get over here. Okay, Jen, so,
Oh.
are we ready?
Do we want to...
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, all right. We've got our next guest in. Let's give another big round of applause. Oh, wait. We're recording? Okay, fantastic. Okay. For Michelle! Yes. One more time.
Hello, everyone.
Hello! Michelle's here.
I like this. This is a duo. I think you guys had very parallel games just starting on different tribes, and it's a tale of two tribes.
Tale of two tribes.
Yeah, of...
One was crushing at a challenge.
Yeah.
The other one was coming up just short every
and
time.
then the
Yes.
swap and playing ahead versus playing behind, and it's a very interesting dynamic that we have here.
Yeah. And then we link up.
Yes.
For a bit.
Yes.
And then I vote you out. I'm sorry.
The awkward part of the
Yeah.
combination. Yes.
Yeah.
Should we jump right to that? Or?
Let's just jump right to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because leaving that weekend and then putting the episodes together, it's why keep Matt at, I mean, hindsight's
Yeah.
always 20/20, but why keep Matt?
Or even my thing is like, why keep Karen?
Yeah. Well, that's one thing is I'm like, I felt like I would have worked better with you moving forward than Karen. Like you see at Final Four, I'm like, Karen, I'm voting for you. Whereas like with you, I don't know, maybe things would have gone differently. So like if I was in control of like which of the two of you, I probably would have voted Karen. But at the time, like the mindset I was in was like, am I sticking with that alliance or am I sticking with the Pittman? And like Pittman had come up with, we're voting Jen. So like I was just like, am I voting Yeah, Jen, or am I voting Matt?
Can I ask? I feel like I asked you guys this week. I mean,
Yeah.
last year, like at Tribal once or twice. Like, what compels you at that point in the game? You're so far in. Like, presumably at that point, you are thinking about your own personal end game.
Yes.
What compels you then to stick with the Pittman original?
I felt like it was my best chance to get to the end.
Okay.
With a final 2, you have to win the final tribal or the final challenge, or you have to get brought to the end.
Yep.
And I didn't feel confident in my ability to win, so I had to get brought. And if I went with you and Karen, you guys would have brought each other. So like, I can't go to final 3 with you. And so it's like, can I go to final 5 with you? Probably not.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that true though, Jen? Like you definitely would have taken Karen?
Yeah, I was bitter at that point. So not only was I bitter, but also the jury at that point was all Pittman and then Darren.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
If it's going to be an all Pittman jury and then Pittman jury, Darren, Karen, okay, so maybe I get 2 votes. But if it's a Pittman jury plus Darren and then me and Karen, they have to vote for a Gibson. So like, do I think I would have lost to Karen? Yeah, I probably would have lost to Karen. But at that point, I was so bitter, I just didn't care.
Yeah,
sure.
And I wouldn't have taken you in final 3. Yeah. So that was, I think, a good judgment call.
Okay.
But I also think I would have taken you farther than 4. I think I would have brought you to final 3, and then I think I wouldn't have taken you to final 2 if I won. That's just it. I didn't win a single challenge, so who's to say I would have,
Yeah.
Yeah. But if Karen wins, she brings you. She doesn't bring me.
Probably.
So I was like, I can't go to final 3 with you guys, even though I enjoyed working with you. Like, it just, that wasn't my path.
That's fair.
And so I felt like I had a better shot at going into final 5. I have Matt and Vega in front of me. I didn't know Matt's going to pull out this idol and then win out. So that felt like that was my path forward.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was less about like the initial alliance, and it really was just like that felt like my path forward.
Totally.
But clearly it wasn't. So
I had my parents literally like call me after the finale, and their main question was why you didn't play the idol when you could have. And I was like, well, again, she says it right in the episode. She did not feel as though she feels as though like if she plays that idol there, she doesn't see a route where anyone, whether it's Gibson or her original Pittman squad, is going to be willing to take her to the final.
at final 5.
Yeah.
Yes,
to be
yes,
fair, If you do play the idol at final 5, if you play it for yourself, you didn't need it. If you play it for Vega, you go. Because it would have been Karen safe, Vega safe, Matt safe because he's got the necklace. Between you and Megan, you go. So there's no point to play it.
Yeah, and at first I panicked because I had left my idol at camp again because I really had no.
Why were you not just taking these idols to tribal? You did this twice.
Because it was such a like last minute decision of like what to do, and that I just forgot to bring my bag, and I couldn't fit that idol in my pockets or anything. I had to bring the bag.
So you weren't going with the Karen route of shoving things in your pants the way that
Honestly, the fact that you couldn't see it in her pants, I was like, wow.
She has like one line in one of the episodes when she goes, what does she say? Where
I have an idol
round
in my pants.
granola bar.
oh yeah. She goes, I don't have an idol, but I have a round granola bar that I think is gonna go right in my pants. And like says, and I heard that line for the first time, and I actually was like a little out of context, and I was like, I had to ask Liam. We were in the middle of the edits. I was like, what does she mean by that? He was like, she's trying to fake the idol. I was like, oh God. I was like, why is she talking about shoving granola bars in her pants? But
So smart.
Yeah, so
Which
smart.
is why I was so afraid of her that I wasn't willing to work with her at Final 4.
Yeah.
But-
No, I love that dynamic between you and Matt and the idol versus no idol play. And I don't know. I thought I made it clear why you weren't going to play the idol, but yeah, it's
No, totally. Again, I think there's people who are just like, again, this is, my parents are watching it just from a completely like they weren't there that weekend. Just like, no.
Just kidding.
No, but they like legitimately are just like, I mean, they're rooting for you at that point, and I know a handful of people that were like rooting for you to do well, and I mean, I heard a few people just say, like, yeah, but just make her safe and like, and she, you get her. I don't know.
Yeah.
And.
Yeah. Well,
big move, big resume thing.
Yeah.
But
even if I had the idol on me, at first I panicked because I was like, that was the first time in the game where I didn't know where every vote, well, besides like the rock draw But I felt like that was the first time where I was really thrown off and didn't know what was going to happen. But then 2 seconds later, I was like, oh wait, Vega's going. Like, cause you get surprised and you're like, is this going to be votes on me? And I got surprised, and then I realized, wait, no, Vega's going. So even there, I wouldn't have played my idol even if I had it, because I was so focused on, I had to downplay my game to everyone so that I could get brought, because I just felt so unconfident in my challenge ability. But yeah, it is a fun parallel against Matt, because he's like, I can't wait to play it. Like, even though he wins, like, should I just play it for fun?
Yeah. Let me ask you now that you know what the challenges were, how do you feel like you would, this is such a hard question to answer because it's such a hypothetical, but like, how do you feel like you would have done with the challenge, like the
final three,
the weight of the crown or whatever we call that challenge?
Bad.
Okay.
Yeah, bad. I was just so exhausted. Like,
Sure.
I had barely slept all 3 nights. I was not eating very much.
Was Zach keeping you up the last night?
Yes. It was 2 a.m. when he started leaving, and then I think I was up from 2 a.m. just listening to them searching. And
Sorry. I'm not trying to sidetrack.
No,
I'm realizing you guys were both there for that night.
Yeah, you slept the whole time.
I was asleep. I was just laying there, like, I don't know what they're doing.
But you heard them though, right?
I could hear.
Was everyone hearing them?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, Karen and I were just kind of like off to the side of the tent, just kind of like minding our own business.
Sure.
But like, there's a lot of movement, and it was just like, I'm not. No, don't make anyone look at me. I don't want to draw attention to myself.
Did either of you believe at any point that Zach had stomach pains?
Not stomach.
Because Zach
also
was
just, like,
so convinced that he was like, I really fooled them here.
It's also like, as soon as we got up the next morning, he's just like, he really thought there was an ore at camp, so he really thought it was underneath that ore, and so he was just like kicking dirt behind the tree. Like, everyone was like staring at him, and he was just doing his business and like didn't even care that we were watching him. And it's like, this is great for me.
Yeah, seriously.
Big fan.
Well, I think there was a comment on that episode, like, oh, we didn't hear from Jen or Karen during this episode. And
don't look at us. Don't look at us. Look at him.
It's the Homer Simpson fall back into the hedge meme. I think that's what
at one point he comes up to me. He's just like, so it's Karen, right? And I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, Zach,
Sure.
it's Karen.
Yeah.
Sure, Zach.
And he puts my name down. I'm like, okay, Karen. Okay, Zach.
I wish he was here right now. I feel like I'm maybe taking shots at him. I don't mean to. I love Zach, but that's a funny episode. I love that. I love how that episode like unfolds, kind of thing.
The funniest part for me was he like had come back in the tent. That was like when I woke up, was that he came back in and laid down, and then like a minute later he just popped up and sat up, and I think he was like counting or something, and
looking
I was
at
like,
the dirt in his fingernails.
He left again, and I was like, something's up.
Yeah.
And then I went out there to be like, to go to the bathroom, and then I come back to
You're all just going
they're
to the
being
bathroom.
sketchy, and I come back, I'm like, are they gonna let me in, and what's going on? And they didn't say anything, so I was like, all right, I'm voting with the people in the tent this next vote. Like, it's like it was an interesting shift.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every other season, that Sunday morning, I get down there around 6 a.m. and I kind of have to shake the tent of, hey, wake up. Honestly. And I got down there, and I think 4 people are sitting around the fire. Other people are going to the bathroom. And it's like, oh, my God, what have I missed? Oh, my God.
So that's why we were already up. But also, when you came to tell us the story, part of why we were already up is because we didn't want to go to bed unless the boys were also going to bed. So the 3 of us were babysitting, and Karen was, honestly, all of us were exhausted. Karen just acted on it and went to bed early. But like, if they were not going to bed, we were not going to bed.
That was something I was frustrated with myself. I tried to leave a line in there in the final edit where you can hear Vega go like, he says like, sorry girl, you gotta wake up, or you gotta get up, or something like that. I had to like talk to people after the fact who were like, they were like, oh, they seemed like kind of annoyed you. I was like, well, Karen was like literally sleeping and like had headphones in, you guys, because there's other footage that again didn't make the edit where people are like, she's got headphones in, you gotta take her headphones out, like, and there's like people like really had to disturb Karen to get her out.
And then she sits next to you while you're telling the whole story.
Dude,
Comedic relief, honestly.
When we reviewed the footage that night, like we finished the story and then we went back and I remember like watching, and we were like, production was like gathered around one laptop and we just had the footage and we were like, They're like, oh man, they look like they hated it, but it was really
Zach
just
next to you
Karen.
with his smile, it'd be like into it.
No, Zach was so into it. Yeah, that's awesome. Any more questions for these two?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a bunch of dynamics. There was a back and forth between, I think, Michelle, you kind of kept Jen as your like, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger. We're going to work with each other.
Yeah.
And I think the Zach vote, we cut it out of the episode, but you, Vega, Jen, and Karen were going to vote Zach, but then Matt also came up with the same plan. And since Matt wins, he gets the credit in the edit.
Yeah.
But
I actually think that's really big because it made Karen and I want to trust Vega and Michelle moving forward. It's like, okay, sure, yeah, Megan and Matt eventually voted Zach, sure, but like, we pulled you in first. Like,
Yeah,
come work
sure.
with us.
and that sets up the final six as the swing. But
Yeah.
I don't think I really honestly had footage of the last footage I had was Vega saying, hey, we're being paranoid. Let's vote out Karen. And sometimes, yeah, you just don't have the footage. Because then the next episode, it's you and Vega are like, we're the tight two. And it's like, where the hell did this come from? But I think
Yeah.
that's the nature of these weekend games.
They change so quickly
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that
If you miss
tribal,
one conversation.
Right, like that tribal was interesting because we knew we were going into a challenge that immediately went into a tribal. So everyone had to have a plan and a backup plan.
Yep.
And so it's like I was trying to have a plan and a backup plan with both sides.
He made that vote so easy
it was so
for
hard.
everybody else, though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like again, like when Matt, there's that confessional right at the end where Matt just goes like, he put a lot of heat on me this morning, and I'm gonna just take the next.
I know,
minutes to
so
try to
well
divert
done.
that right off onto him. So yeah,
Yeah, but it did put heat on Matt too because if
totally.
Zach won,
Zach was-
we were.
I would vote Matt 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Vega was going to too, so I think we had the numbers for that. Like that was my plan too, but I mean, who knows how it actually would have played out? But it was at that tribal council where Matt turned around, and that's when I realized Matt and Jen were also voting Zach. I didn't realize it till like at tribal because in my head I was going with you guys, and then like I don't know, and things changed so fast. 30 minutes later, I'm like, wait, I can't go to the end with you.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work for me. But yeah, it is like.
Ifs and buts or
Yeah.
candy and nuts.
Yeah,
with
we've
all of
walked
them.
through all of
I think
those.
it would have been really interesting. So, we have like a group chat, and so Zach was like, "I was this close to playing the idol," which means I would have gone home, obviously. But like, imagine the fallout back at
Yeah,
camp
that would've
if it's
totally-
just Zach versus everybody.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so good. So I'm like, I would have gotten voted out. I'm not even mad
Yeah.
about it. It's so good.
Those final words from Zach. I
Oh,
mean, we
heartbreaking.
didn't start filming until
Hard.
think like 5 minutes into him. Yeah, I was like,
Well, I mean, you can also just say, I mean, like most people, when I'm snuffing the torches, they've got like a little bit of a smile on their face. They're happy to be there. They're realizing, hey, I made a mistake here or there or something like that. Zach has got that, like, if I had just done this one thing differently.
Yeah, because everyone
I'd
else
still be
knew
sitting over there.
they couldn't do anything. Whereas like
Totally.
he's like, I could have.
He knows.
Yeah.
He knew right where it was, and he just played it wrong. Yeah, stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
that's why we love the
And
game.
he was so into it from the start.
Yeah.
Like
So-
you can, it comes through in the episodes too. But like,
I believe
mean,
so as
the
well.
whole cast really was like it was really a fun cast. to
Yeah,
play
you guys
with.
mentioned that you guys have this group chat. I mean, like, how frequently do you guys still talk a year later?
I would say a lot.
Yeah.
Like especially
awesome.
now that the episodes are airing, but even before that, a fair amount. But now with the episodes, airing, it was a ton.
Yeah. And like people will just post like life updates and stuff. We got to watch Leah played a Survivor game recently. She got
Sweet.
third. We're very proud
Oh,
of her.
nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
she made it third.
she got like
Nice.
she did an immunity
Hey,
run. So we were like watching like
Leah.
so like
Long
watching.
gone, but not forgotten.
Did she find an idol in her season?
I don't think so, but she went on an immunity run.
Okay.
So,
okay.
like-
Okay.
So they had to vote her out there.
Great,
You know,
great,
like
great.
it was like things like that. We'll keep
Sure.
updated. You know.
That's
It was
awesome.
fun.
Love that.
Or when people meet up.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, I love to hear that. It's fun. Having been a former cast member of this show and then now turned host kind of thing, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, I know, like, it's such a weird bond that you make with people over a period of, 72 hours? Like you're literally there like 3 or 4 days
Yeah.
and you walk out of it being like, I just went to war with these people, and I'm like, I worked with some of them, I fought with others, and I love them all now, kind of thing. It's such a weird relationship.
I know. I'm going to a conference in Boston. I'm like, so Michelle, you're gonna be free?
Nice, love it.
Yeah. And it's fun because it's like in the game, you feel like you know who the people are, but also like everyone's, putting on a friend, or you might be lying to you, or
Totally,
like it's fun to get to know each other outside of the game too.
That's awesome.
So yeah. It's a great
Well,
cast.
thank you both
Yes, thank
so
you.
much. We like cannot really like thank everyone who decided to like do the weekend and everything. I mean, there's only one reason why we're sitting here filming a reunion podcast episode, yada
For
yada.
the sixth season of
for the sixth season of this, and it's only because we were able to get people like you both and everybody else you played with. No, but seriously, I mean, like it takes people who are like willing to like come out and take it this seriously and get this involved and this invested into it. Otherwise, that doesn't happen. So thank you both, genuinely.
And it was so much fun to play. Like, you guys put on an awesome show. It was
Thank you.
so fun to play and so fun to watch back. So
I should also say too, before I let both of you go, you were both in what I would consider like, from a producer standpoint, who's like watching very closely on the internet and like listening to people who he knows watching the show. You both are fan favorites. Genuinely. Well, because like Michelle, I feel like you kind of got the like, ooh, we got like someone who's fun. He's like idol hunting, like all this like scheming kind of behind the scenes, playing a low key game. And then Jen, I feel like we had a lot of like people online who were like really big stands of like specifically like you and Karen, like the underdogs from Gibson who are trying to rise up, beat the big baddies from Pittman and everything. And so it's like, I can't tell you how many times I had people like either tell me straight up like, oh my God, I love Michelle, or like we had comments that were like, I really hope that like Jen pulls it out. Like I want to see a Gibson person win this whole thing. And like, especially like after Darren went home and stuff, it was just, I felt like a lot of the things that I was seeing online was like behind Jen all the way sort of thing. So it was just like, I don't know. Again, can't
That's
think
really
of it
nice to
enough.
hear.
Yeah.
That feels good, Yeah.
Of course it should. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well.
But yeah, thank you guys.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind sending up, there's like a slew of production people that were waiting to talk
Stephen,
to.
Mike, and Tim.
Stephen, Mike, Tim. Yep.
Let 'em know.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you again. You can just leave it right here. Okay. Thank you. That was nice.
Yeah.
I have to pee pretty bad.
Me too, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, I think we can hold it. So, like,
Yeah.
we're going to just know if Liam and I are acting weird in the last few minutes, it's because we're both pinching our bladders a little bit. This has been a lot of fun already so far. We have one more group and then another person after that to talk to. This has already been a big success.
Yeah.
I
feel like we could have talked to them for 3 hours.
I have 10
Yeah.
more questions for
Yeah.
both of them, kind of thing.
Maybe we'll have to do some more of these, but
Maybe we will. I mean, there's also a few other people that I would have loved to talk to. I would have loved to talk to Isaiah. Would have loved to talk to Zach. We didn't get to talk to
of
Zach.
course, Zach.
The winner, obviously, we have not been able to talk to Matt. Oh, hello, production fam.
No, Steven.
Oh, yeah. Where's the?
Oh. Do you guys want to take these two
Yeah,
seats?
yeah.
So-
Steven will have to stand. Hi, Tim. By the way, I haven't seen you.
Yeah,
You weren't at the
Tim.
party when I came up here.
Well, introducing some production
Yes.
members. We've already talked to Mike on this podcast, but introducing Tim. Big shout out to Tim. Tim did the remix for that intro to the season. So
I think we got one comment the whole season and it was like essentially what Liam and I were looking for was like the real fans will understand that this is an Easter egg. This is a complete rearrangement of the traditional theme song of Survivor.
We did. Was that in one of the first couple of episodes?
Yeah, I think it was like literally.
Hey, I love the remix of the intro song.
I think it was literally like the second episode somebody wrote that. Oh, and he's
Steven.
finally here.
what is
the
is that?
my buff on.
Well, get in
Let's
camera.
Sit in the.
Yeah, you have to like sit here or something.
On Mike's lap.
Or like kneel in front of him or something. We didn't think.
Maybe sit on the arm of the.
Yeah, sit on the arm here. Sit on the arm here. You guys are gonna have to pass the mic between the three of you, so nobody talking over each other.
Steven's wearing some amalgamation of all the buffs and idols he found and used throughout his career on Survivor Roysan. So
You see the purple one?
Yeah. I can
is that
see
from the original?
Season 0.
Wow,
Whoa.
season 0, ladies and gentlemen.
You saw a photo of it. That was the season that we unfortunately had a friend get taken by the Survivor gods. Can we all have a moment of silence for Graham?
Rip in peace, Graham.
All right.
Moment over.
It was a moment.
So, Mike and Steven, you've been part of the production for
Sure.
almost the entire time. Tim, you came on this time, but also contributed that huge music and I think gave the season its own little flair.
And actually, I'm just realizing now too. Not only just the music for the theme song, definitely like again added to Liam's point, its own flair to the season. You also gave us a little bit of a score that like when I'm giving the campfire story in the 10th episode, which we really believe is kind of the crux of the season sort of thing. You also scored the music that's playing probably for the first like 3 minutes of that of the story.
Yeah, I did some of that. And then it's funny because when I watched that episode, I'd only did a little bit because it was like when I was getting ready to move from Philly back up to New England, and I just couldn't like get focused on it. So when I went I sent you like what I had finished.
Yes.
And then
I think I stretched it out a little bit.
You stretched it out a little bit,
but not too much. Honestly, it was like you were definitely on the right track. It was one of these things where I was sending you rough cuts too of like, because I think ultimately the final cut down of the story is 9 minutes long, and like the original raw footage is like 12. And so I was sending you some of that, and you were kind of like, I don't really know how to like, where do I even really begin with it? But you had the vibe, like it was a thing where it was like we kind of just hit a point where you were moving and all this stuff. We had to just punt, and it's fine. I found other music online, but the vibe that you had right off the bat was really great. It was just kind of this like, it's a campfire story. It's a spooky one at that. So it's like you got the vibe just right. And I think you kind of nailed it both in that case. And then also with the theme song, you want to like talk just for a second for those who are kind of like uninitiated, like what did that process look like?
So yeah, I wanted it to be like a Survivor theme song. So
sure.
I used the same, the same sample that they use in like the regular show theme. And I forget the name of the song, but it's like
Ancient Voices.
It's like a traditional,
Ancient Voices, yeah.
Well, Ancient Voices is the name of the song on that, like the actual theme song, but the source material for that is like a traditional Russian folk song. So like I got a clip of that and just like sort of quantized it. It's a little bit faster than I think what a lot of the Survivor theme songs are. And then, I just added some beats. And we had talked about making it to like sort of fit in with the story, like the Y2K conspiracy thing. Have a little bit of like a 90s grunge sort of creepiness to it. So that's what I added in the guitar.
Yep.
But an important part of that process was I had said to Liam, like, you have got to check in with me like on a regular basis or else I don't know if I'm going to finish this thing.
Exactly.
So it would be like, we would say, okay, on this day in 2 weeks, Liam, JJ, me, we're going to have a meeting to just talk about the music. And that was like me giving myself like an assignment due date to have like some progress be done. And it would literally be like that afternoon. I would be doing like a bunch of stuff to do it. And
I love it.
That's just that's just like the way that I'm built. I need to have time pressure to do it. And I'm like happy with
you and I
how
are
it
built
came out.
very, very, very similarly, Tim, because like it's one of these things where I'm like, I essentially had a year with all the raw footage, and I knew coming out of the episodes that we filmed last year, like what I was going to be taking on editing, and like it was Liam over here that would like hit me up with texts and stuff every once in a while. Hey, I was hoping like this would be a good deadline to have this segment done or that segment done, and it's like it really is those time crunches that it's like if I just sit on raw footage I could sit on it for 10 years and I'd be like, yeah, I'll come up with something kind of cool eventually. But you give me like a deadline and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is actually going to get done. And that's what it takes.
The procrastination fuels the flame.
Procrastination theory, yes.
We had the theme song done before we even filmed the season. And I remember talking to another friend who had helped in production in the past, like that, I got Tim to finish the theme song before we started filming. And he said, why do you need it before you film? I was like, I don't know. But then as soon as we finished filming, I said, thank God I pushed him to finish that before we started.
Totally.
Because it would have pushed everything out an extra month, 2 months. So.
Yeah, and it was the right time for me to do that as well, just because of like it was before I was getting ready for my move.
Totally.
So it was like back in the spring, and so like I don't know, my mind was like open to like having like the time to do that work, and yeah, I guess in retrospect, like if we had done that during post production, that would have been a lot on your plate to like. Another thing to worry about.
Yeah,
100%.
So yeah, that was the right.
It
call
would have
to do it
been, and
before.
we didn't need anything else on our plates in the last few months, so that's great.
we were cutting it close.
Kyle, can I get a time check real quick? 50 minutes.
55.
55. Okay, perfect.
Well, I can say it's a little fun BTS thing too.
Yeah.
With Tim having the theme song done before the season even started filming, the last thing that I played for all the players when they were sitting down for that blindfolded challenge was their own season's theme song.
Ooh.
So I played that for all of them, and then as they got voted out one by one, I'd tell them in the exit interview, "Hey, actually, you have heard your season's song," and they all thought that was a really fun little tidbit of information.
I didn't know that, Mike. That's a nice little BTS for me, even. Wow, I love that. Steven, before I kick you out of here so that we can get our one last guest in, this was kind of blanket question I was asking people earlier in this episode. What's your like main? You were a camera operator for both tribes before the merge, correct?
Yes.
And so you kind of got to see a little bit of everything throughout the weekend. You were with Pittman, you were with Gibson, you were with merge. What do you feel like was like a big standout memory in your mind from the whole weekend? Like any major event that you were like, oh man, this was fun, or that like vibe, this person, anything?
Can I give you two?
Give me two.
All right. So one is a quick one. The two slips we had down by the river.
Yes.
Those I just happened to catch both of them on camera, which I was like, yeah.
This is the Pittman episode 2 idol hunt. It starts with Megan slipping into the river and then ends with Michelle after she finds the idol slipping
into the river. And I was like, how did I catch both of those? And no one else slipped in the river. And both of those times, yeah, I did. I was happy I got.
They're
those.
nice little mirrors of themselves. Like it's a fun moment. Yeah, I like it.
And it's also just
Good
like
job.
I mean, they're both just like afterwards they're both just like having fun. And I don't know, it just kind of shows that like what I liked was they both slipped. And then what was their reaction? It wasn't like, oh man, like I just that hurt, or oh geez. They were both just like laughing it off.
Sure.
And I'm like, that's most of the season. Like everyone's doing grueling activities, and we're having them do challenges, and everyone's just laughing the whole way through. And I was like, it was very great to catch both of those. That's number one.
Okay, let me hear the second.
Number two is Isaiah.
Doing what?
Everything. It was so hard.
Well,
I know you've talked about it.
You caught it. Yeah.
Like trying to not, but not even just at like the summit, but trying not to laugh.
We'll say the summit moment.
Trying not to laugh. Oh, when Isaiah takes the sip of wine out of turn and then proceeds to choke on it. Isaiah, if you're watching this, hilarious.
We've already said
it
this on the
it was
podcast.
really hard for me not to laugh. But honestly, even when he was just setting up his tent, he is just such a great energy, and I was like, I can't ruin the audio of this clip of him even just setting up a tent. But wow, am I just laughing at like everything this guy's doing?
That's amazing.
So it was a delight filming Isaiah the entire time.
I love that.
Yeah, shout out to Stephen and Mike. They're kind of the head camp producers.
What was their nickname?
Camp Daddies.
Camp
right?
Daddies.
Begrudgingly so, yes.
Oh, begrudgingly, you love it.
Which
Shut
one
the
is the
fuck up.
meat?
No, I did not want that title.
Yeah.
I leaned into
He
it.
loves, if you ever see Mike Casey in the streets, you call him Camp Daddy.
Camp
from now
Daddy
on.
Mikey.
Which one's the meaner one? I forget.
So apparently, I used to be the meaner one, and then it sounds like this most recent
year, it sounds like it was me.
Yes, it sounds like
Whoa.
Mike actually turned the tables and gave them less information than I had, and like I mean, in the past, I was the one that initiated the like, do not talk on the way to tribal, especially because I usually take the river camp. It's a long walk. If people start chatting during that walk, and we don't have it really with good audio, it can ruin a whole episode because like they can change their plans right at the last second. And I was really harsh about that. But it sounds like, Mike, you were doing some like harsher, like not giving them time and stuff.
No, I was giving them time. I was just giving them as little information as possible. So a text would come in for the next challenge, and I just stop. Hey guys, you got 17 minutes, and that was all the information they got.
Yep.
And they're like, "Well, was it a challenge? Was it this? Was it that?" I just wouldn't tell them. So Gibson got used to that for the first few votes. It wasn't until after the swap when I was at the river camp and I was like, hey guys, 15-minute warning. And everyone's like, what do you mean 15-minute warning? Like something's going to happen in 15 minutes. But they're like, oh, Steven gave us all this info. Steven told us this. Steven told us that. Like, well, I'm not Steven. So,
Steven.
Yeah. I really thought I was keeping close to chest because that is funny that we've kind of swapped back and forth on it.
That's awesome. Sweet. All right. Could you guys go get
Thank you, production.
Becca?
You're welcome.
Thank
Becca?
you.
All right.
absolutely.
Thank you, production. Okay, all right. And we have time just for, thank you again, production. We have time for one more guest. And Liam, why don't you introduce this very special guest?
Yes, thank you. Very special guest. If you see the end of each episode, the end credits, wife of executive producer Becca Kammerer.
There's almost no bigger role.
Oh, yeah.
Becca, everybody, welcome.
So
you.
I think it's only appropriate to end this season and this podcast, final Survivor Northfield Farm thing. Becca, you've been kind of the person on the outside having to deal with me making these episodes. So can you walk us through what that process has looked like over the past year?
I don't know why I'm crying.
Oh my God, why are you crying?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I feel like it's, I don't know, just being a partner to someone, and I'm sorry, I'm like, oh shit, put me on the spot. Being a partner to someone who has like so much passion towards something and this creative spark that it's pretty unreal to see. Like, I wish that I had this creative spark. Maybe I'm nervous. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't been drinking enough. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh yeah, that's your main problem.
Yeah, having something that they're like so driven for and they know what they want to do. It's kind of beautiful. And also seeing, and as our dogs scratch the door and are like, please let us be part of it. Especially over 7, 8, 9, 10 years that we've known each other. It's always been like a passion project to complete this. And I think it's just really sweet that you have done it. And also everyone that's come along the way and like everyone that's been like, yes, we're standing behind you. I think that that's really sweet. I think it's really special. Yeah, sorry to cry.
Yeah, this was. I was hoping you would say it was annoying, and
it was annoying. I wish that I had.
The truth comes out.
Yeah, okay, there it is.
I wish that I had more time with you. But I think that it's been a balance. It's like made me a different person a little bit, just because I'm like, oh, I don't need to spend every moment with you, which is totally fine. But also like, it's yeah, it's been great. I'm happy it's over.
Yep. And with that, we have a little.
I'm gonna just interject real quick before we get to the bottle popping. That I'm like, yeah, just because I don't have a wife, there's other people that wish they were spending time with me while I was also editing. I'm kidding.
No, I mean,
no, thank you genuinely, actually, for like coming on here and I'm not kidding. When so I was like building the credits when we were doing the last episode, and I was like, well, Becca needs to go on here. You did show up throughout the weekend.
Yeah, I was there for a day.
What do you remember in the day you were there? I'm asking everybody's favorite memories.
Well, it was gorgeous out. Yep. I feel like the whole weekend was beautiful, which is always a plus, especially because, what do we say? The Survivor gods, you never know what's in store.
100%.
And so just having it was a gorgeous day. We came out. I get to see my in-laws as well and have some time with them, which is always nice.
Who doesn't love
Oh
Mike
my
and
gosh,
Nancy?
Mike and Nancy are amazing.
Shout out. Final shout out to Mike and Nancy. Can't give them enough, honestly.
Yeah, so that's always fun. It's also just fun just seeing you guys get so into it, and like it's nice that everyone is like, this is the weekend that we're going for it, and I'm happy that I can be involved in the sliver that I am, because I know that otherwise it'll be like, Becca, you're in the way, you can't be doing this, and it's acceptable because I do like to be in charge, and so this is like.
Can I confirm?
Yes,
can we confirm?
Confirm.
Oh, okay, we can confirm. You heard it here first, folks.
Yes, very true. But yeah, it's just fun, like seeing the contestants get so into it too, and they're like,
totally.
This week we're doing this, and we're like, it's been 24 hours, not even, buds. Like, you're like, you just slept over last night. But seeing people get involved in that way, and just like the deceit too is fun. Just being like, what happened? Also as like a past player too, just seeing everyone else's game. Yeah, it's kind of it's a different vibe for anyone who like wants to get involved in something like this. I think highly recommends. I think it's even,
so,
I know.
Are you say season 7?
I don't know. I do like spending time with you too. Yeah. So maybe if some other people stepped up.
We've all had many conversations, and we more likely than not know, but
more likely than not know. But I'm not willing to shut up. But let's just talk about it on camera for a second. I mean, while we have this opportunity, this was amazing, but this consumed a lot of both of our last 2 years of our personal lives.
3 of us.
And yes, so true, wife of executive producer. And so, I personally at least need to take at least a year off from something like this before we even consider the pre-production of another season. Would the other season be called Survivor something? Would it be called something else? Would it be, we're working under the umbrella of Roysan reality. Yep. Reality TV can mean a whole number of different things, and so we've talked at great lengths about what a future might look for this channel and for everything. But this journey has just been a lot of fun so far, and so I'm just trying to live in the moment right now and just kind of revel.
And the moment is, I think we got this bottle of champagne more than a year ago, and it says "Pop it, finish Survivor," and as of right now, we're about to be officially done Survivor Northfield Farm. So let's pop this thing and
do the honors, Mr. Executive Producer.
See you when we see you.
See you when we see you.
We should get that sound.
Kyle's telling us to make sure we get the sound. You get twisted a little bit. Jesus!
Cheers. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Hey! Take a sip. Kyle, get over. Come on.
Yay. Hopefully it didn't age poorly.
Does it taste okay?
Tastes great.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's sweet.
Thank you again for watching.
Thank you. We love you
Like,
all.
share, subscribe, send it around, binge it again.
DM Kyle if you're interested.
DM Kyle.
What are you trying to say?
Thank you.